CASA services in the Lake County Drug Court, the women's residential.
Since that they could lace it with, how do you get something off a street?
It's a non-awareness thing, Suzanne. It's totally non-aware.
How do you trust somebody off the street and get something?
You've got to realize some of us, or most of us, just don't know. That's what it just boils down to, because you just trust people because that's our nature.
About trust, because
well, for me it
danger
was.
involved.
For me it
There's a lot of
was.
danger.
Yeah,
There's
it's danger involved, but a lot of us,
The lifestyle is
I mean, you just don't know.
But I'm going to say something about the power of addiction. It knows no boundaries.
Yes.
And you're you know what? And you're a drug counselor too. You're a certified drug counselor, and I mean, I think that is good. I mean, who knows better about how to treat somebody than somebody that was there before? I mean, I think we have to stress this, because sometimes it's better, if you've been there before. Many
of us in recovery do go on to go into the substance abuse provider business, but and we do know well. I'm not saying that others don't, because everybody has. As you said in the beginning, this addiction is in everyone's life. It's all over America, in other countries as well.
Nation's epidemic.
Right, it is. And addiction knows no boundaries, and we know that because of where the cycle takes us. We say, oh, I'll never do that, but it happens. Or I'll never do this,
there you go, Wendy.
But it happened.
There you go.
Right, and it's a no boundary disease.
And what about you, Deborah? How did you, again, you're another woman that I sat and ate with, and we met another time before, and you're so confident. You're such a strong lady. How did this happen for you?
For me, I came from a good family, mother and father there, raised on Army bases, traveled around the world, and so it wasn't something that was part of my upbringing and that environment. And when I first took my first drink, which was wine, I was in college. And my first use of an illegal substance came from my ex-husband, who encouraged me to use it as a way of just to relax.
Wonder he's an ex-husband.
Right. And so that's how I was introduced. And from that, as time went on in life, over the years, it spiraled out of control. So today I had to learn a new way. I had to get the information from NACASA and other sources, and information plus application is transformation. So we've transformed our lives, and we have to practice this continuously every day in our lifestyle. We can't go home, like you mentioned about the sleeping pills. We don't do that. We have to learn a new coping skill, and we have to also educate our recovering community, and we have to support each other. And so that's one reason why we do come together, is to empower each other, to mentor each other, and show individuals that there is a new way of life. And we learn that through the programs.
And that's why I have you on today, because of educating the public.
Really, and that's what, like Jackie said, I didn't know better. I didn't know that. And that's why we have, like NICASA has a lot of prevention services, because if you don't know about it, it can trip you up. That's where, nobody wants to be addicted to something. They might want to do something that calms them down or do something that makes them happy. But in the schools, if we can educate our children, if we can educate our communities before they go down that road, then we can save some lives, we can save some families, and keep people together.
And the great thing about NACASA, for after we're done with our services there, after graduating and completing, that's where the Women of Worth come in at, because we're a group of women that come together to keep us supportive and keep us strengthened in our recovery, because we need something. We need something to keep us going. And that's why the awareness of the Walk for Recovery comes about. We have all these things that we do. We fundraise. We do things. We are an awareness to the community on this thing called recovery.
What about men? Do they have is there a recovery center like this for men? And I think we talked about this very thing. Women, we're used to going out to lunch, we're used to talking about our feelings and getting everything out. But men, it's a little bit more difficult for them because they're not, I see my cameramen are all looking at me, men don't talk about their feelings, but that is true. I mean, it's very, I think I mentioned I went to a movie and I asked my husband, what did you feel about that movie? He said, it's a good movie. I said, what do you like about it? It's okay, it was good. And that was it. I didn't get any, that was the response. How to get men to talk about their things? Is there some kind of program for men? I mean, we have the women, but is there anything for men?
There's 12-step programs available
But I'm talking
to
about-
everybody.
yeah,
and
those are the
yes,
12
there are
steps,
men's
yeah.
there are men's groups, absolutely.
So
My
men
husband
need
goes
to-
to a men's group.
There's a lot of
They're
men's groups.
pretty-
In
they're
fact,
producing.
70%
Right.
of
They're
the men
producing.
in treatment are men.
Yes.
So what we
once-
did was say, wait a minute, women
Right.
heal differently.
Right.
Women
So that's
need
what makes us
something
unique.
different.
Right.
Yes.
Women need
And that's
different.
why we did the gender-specific
Yes.
That's right.
treatment.
Yes.
Because there was a lot for men and not much for women,
Or
actually.
were there
that was the reality.
Yeah, they were kind of groups together. I mean, I think that some of these 12-step programs are
co-ed.
co-ed type of thing.
And see, that's one of the programs that we have in the CASA also. It's called
Yeah.
a Bridge House, and that's a co-ed environment treatment facility right there. So it equals out. We just do a little bit more. Women just do a little bit more. We
Right.
Because we
We
have the most
have-
powerful women.
Right.
Yeah.
So these are very powerful women, and these are women. I mean, I am very. I mean, it was just delightful to eat with you guys today and break bread with you because it really. I mean, I didn't know about the drug court. I mean, this I never knew there was a drug court.
Yes.
And I didn't know that people were lobbying for the drug court, lobbying for, to get more budgets. So there's no budget cuts for this disease.
Right.
And remember, it is a disease. It's not, there are people that I guess do recreation, but this is basically a disease that
Yes.
people have, and you're coming from that aspect of it. And I think the PDR now talks about as a disease. The physician's desk reference is no longer just.
It has been,
Yeah, it's really important. And we never got to, medical marijuana. We only have 2 minutes. I mean, are you for medical marijuana? Is that something that?
Medical marijuana, I am for.
Yeah.
This is my own personal opinion,
Yes.
separate from NICASA or the Women
Right.
of Worth. So, but my personal opinion is I see the purpose of medical marijuana, but I don't see it as a recreational choice.
Because you feel that from marijuana you can go into another substance. So
Absolutely,
that
it's
starts from-
absolutely
is it-
proven. It's a
absolutely
proven
type of
statistical
thing.
fact.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and what it says is when you're young, and if you're young and you start to use marijuana, that most likely in your adulthood, you would go on to use harder, more serious substances such as heroin and cocaine.
So that is because people say, oh,
Proven.
it's not, that's not so,
No.
but it is so because these ladies, you've been there
Yes.
and you know, and I think that's the most important thing because I know there are people that just use it on a daily basis and you see California, the law in California says you can grow marijuana as long as it's for medical purposes.
I think
But
it's
then-
regulated
but-
though. It's got to be regulated.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I see people growing it, I saw this thing on television that they're growing it for recreational.
Right.
Because there's
That's-
so many,
Yeah.
so many different.
That's against the law.
But I want to thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
We have so much more to cover, but I would like to welcome you back. You've been delightful, and thank you for sharing. This is really personal, and you came on the show, and I really thank you. Thank you very
Nice
much,
to meet
Tricia.
you.
We would
you
like
for
to
having
invite you out to our Walk for Recovery that will be held at the City of North Chicago on September 11th.
Oh, thank you.
September 11th.
So 9/11.
Oh, 9/11. Well, I'd be delightful to work with
Yes.
you.
And also, if people have other questions about
Yep.
substance abuse addiction, nicasa.org.
Thank you. That's nakasa.org. And if anybody's out there for themselves or their families or for somebody that you know.